Item 1, opening prayer and statements of acknowledgement. Almighty God, we pray for your blessing upon this council. Help and prosper its work for the advancement and benefit of its people, so that peace and happiness, unity and justice may be established amongst us all. Amen. Manningham Council acknowledges the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people as the traditional owners of the land and waterways now known as Manningham. Council pays respects to elders past, present and emerging, and values their ongoing contribution to enrich and appreciate the cultural heritage of Manningham. Council acknowledges Australia's First Peoples as the traditional owners of the land and waterways across country and encourages reconciliation between all. Manningham Council also values the contributions made to Manningham over the years by people of diverse backgrounds and cultures. I welcome all members of the public who have joined us online to observe tonight's proceedings. I would like to advise that tonight's meeting is being audio and video recorded. All care will be taken to maintain your privacy. However, as a visitor in the public gallery, your presence may be recorded. By remaining in the gallery, it is assumed your consent is given in the event that your voice and/or image is broadcast by Council. No additional recording of the meeting is permitted without Council's consent. Council meetings are conducted in accordance with our governance rules. I will introduce each item of business as listed on the agenda, calling it by number and by reading the title. I will then call for a mover and a seconder of a motion on the item before opening any debate. Only councillors can join the debate on an item. Councillors may adopt the officer's recommendation in the report or propose amendments and supplementary motions. I'd like to draw your attention to item 7 on tonight's agenda. Public question time provides people with the opportunity to ask questions of Council. Council have allocated 30 minutes for question time, and the process of the public question time is set out in our governance rules. Councillors and the gallery are reminded that question time is conducted in a respectful manner, having consideration to the diverse views of those present. Any disorderly conduct will be managed in accordance with our governance rules. Item 2, apologies and requests for leave of absence. We've received an apology this evening from Councillor Deirdre Diamonte for tonight's meeting. Councillors, are there any other requests for leave of absence? Thank you. Item 3, prior notification of conflicts of interest. No prior notification of conflicts of interest have been received. Would anyone like to give notice of a conflict of interest? No, thank you. Item 4, confirmation of minutes. Do I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Michelle Klein at OAM.
That the minutes of the council meeting held on the 25th of June 2024 be confirmed.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for the motion?
I second the motion.
Councillor Michelle Klein, would you like to speak to the motion?
No, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Laura May, would you like to speak to the motion? I will, if there are no other speakers, I'll put that to a vote. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. Item 5, presentations. Councillors, I have a presentation this evening. I would like to acknowledge Manningham's very own Ian Hook, who has been named Victoria's School Crossing Supervisor of the Year at the School Crossing Supervisor Victoria Awards. A supervisor of over 20 years, Ian has supported generations of local children, helping them arrive safely to school. Supervisors were judged on certain characteristics. Some of these are their professionalism, demeanour and presentation, working knowledge of road rules relating to school crossings, being welcoming, caring, supportive and encouraging all crossing users, being helpful, informative and clear in correct crossing use, their involvement in the school community, their attendance and their punctuality. Ian was all of these. This is a significant award recognising Ian's commitment, service to the Warrandyte community and his professional performance. Councillors, please join me in congratulating Ian for his award. Thank you. Item 6, petitions. There are no petitions this evening. Item 7, public question time. Are there any questions from the public? No, as we have no one in the gallery this evening. Item 8, omission of urgent business. There are no items for urgent business. Item 9, planning permit applications. There are no planning permit applications that require a decision of council this month. Item 10, city planning. Item 10.1, statutory planning application activity, quarter 3, January to March 2024. Do I have a mover? Thank you. Councillor Jeff Goff.
Madam Mayor, I move as on the paper.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Thank you. Councillor Andrew Conlon. Councillor Jeff Goff, would you like to speak to the motion?
Just for a little while, that'd be very good. Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is probably a new little report that's coming up to council for the future, and it's good to see that this is a report just outlining what is being undertaken in our area. I know that it's difficult at the moment to see what's happening in planning into the future with planning applications. They do look as if they're decreasing, but we must remember that if we saw the whole of the whole year and compared it to the previous year, we can see the number of applications coming down, which I suppose puts more challenges for us to build more housing if people aren't actually applying to build houses to start with. But this gives us an idea of how we're running with things, and I found it a very interesting read, especially when it talked about the sorts of applications and how long it was taking. We have got a Vic Smart system these days, and that's a relatively new thing that actually makes applications go through a lot faster, and it looks as if we are catching up with ensuring that that process does occur. Because councillors, if I just refer you to graphs going back, all of those ones that are amended applications that are waiting to get, I would assume, and I could be wrong, and perhaps someone after I've spoken might be able to disprove me on it, but I think that I'm just wondering whether those green ones in that graph, which are amended applications, are applications that have been up once and then been taken back to the person, and then they've sort of actually amended it and then it's coming back up again. So the lag, and that probably gives me a pretty good idea of the lag of more than 60 days that is coming up on planning applications standing at any one time in Manningham. And I'm looking at figure 1 there with that. But overall, it is really good, and it'd be great because we are into quarter 5, if you can have the 5th quarter, but because quarter 4 has been and gone by 20-something days, so it would be good to actually had those figures there, because it would have given us a really good idea for the whole year, but I'm sure that one will be coming extremely soon, and it would be good to see these actually arrive with the next meeting after the end of a quarter. So I think that would be wonderful to keep us abreast of how things are going. But congratulations for everybody for the way this report has come through, and we look forward to those into the future for those that will be here.
Thank you, Councillor Goff. Councillor Andrew Conlon, did you want to speak to the motion?
Yeah, just briefly, just to reiterate what Councillor Goff mentioned about what a good job our officers are doing, and despite local government being a punching bag for state government in terms of supposedly holding up planning decisions and refusing them, we've only had 10 refusals out of, which equates to about less than 2%. So it's not council that's the issue, I'd suggest. It's not the planning scheme that's the issue, it's the affordability of actually getting a house together, and perhaps various unions who should not be mentioned. So I think that's probably the main reason why we aren't getting things built around Manningham. People put in permits they're getting approved, but I don't see that much building going on either. And I think there's an issue there in terms of the actual, the enactment of a permit. So I do note, we need more houses in Manningham. We need more houses all over Melbourne. I agree with that principle, but again, I'd say that it's not Manningham who is causing the problem. It's a bigger issue than us, and we're definitely doing our part to try and keep things moving. So thank you, officers.
Thank you, Councillor Collin. Do I have any speakers against the motion? Do I have any speakers for the motion? Councillor Anna Chen?
Well, I have to echo Councillor Collins' comment. And as we can see from the statistics that the Manningham Council's planners are doing well within the 60 statutory days time frame. Although Q3 had a decrease in the number of planning applications due to the industry-wide Christmas and New Year holiday period closures, for Q1 to Q3, 88.26% were decided within 60 statutory days, comparison to the metropolitan average of 63.81%. The refusal rate, as Councillor Collins rightly mentioned, this less than 2% is actually about 1.82% of all decisions made. Of course, the hot topics right now is the combination of housing and the cost of living crisis. It appears that, as Councillor Collins rightly indicated again, council against are the easy target to bear the blame for protecting detached house owners against the medium and high density development and delaying in their decision making. But in reality, the impact of planning on housing supply is always overstated. A far more pressing problem is interest rate, tax incentives for investment property, a shortage of planners, a lack of construction workers, high cost of materials, and a large pile of medium density developments approved by councils not being built by the developers, all contributing to housing supply issues. Perhaps the largest housing crisis is in social and affordable housing, and this is a lever the state government can directly control to help the people hurting most from the housing crisis. Perhaps, more should be done from other levels of governments to take a holistic view to address the housing issues. Our planning permits quarterly report is a testimony that councils, in particular Manningham councils, has been performing very well under the current planning scheme and the regulatory regime. So well done, planners.
Thank you, Councillor Chen. Do I have any other speakers to the motion? Thank you, Councillor Stephen Mayne.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to supplement many of the comments already made, which I agree with, this report followed a motion that came to Council, which was partly influenced by the relative drought of planning applications that were coming to Council. We'd gone over a year before we'd had a planning matter come to Council. And there's almost a sense of, councillors should remain match fit and we shouldn't be having large planning droughts. So perhaps a quarterly report is a good way to get planning on the agenda, literally, which is what has happened. So I think it's a really good report. I agree with all the sentiments that made. I thank the officers for taking the time and for positively leaning in on the concept of reporting on their statistics and their performance on a quarterly basis, not just in the general quarterly report, but in a special planning quarterly report that comes to Council. So we've elevated the importance of planning. I think it's good. It's a very important area. It deserves it. We're performing very well. But I also agree with the comments on the slowdown. The only other comment I would add to the reasons for that slowdown is, I think, I haven't got the exact stats, but when you look at the total value of land, of the CIV in Manningham, it's about 73 billion, and about 50 billion of that is land. So the cost of land is the other massive inhibitor, which is pushing up the cost of housing. And the other elephant in the room, I think, is the state government's suggestion that we expand our housing stock from 51,000, we expand it by 72% by 2050, adding getting close to 80,000 houses. So that's an incredible challenge. And, how would you do that? I mean, you wouldn't still have 1,541 private tennis courts. You wouldn't still have 18% of Manningham public open space, which is some people say is a world record. So there would be massive rezoning and changes to the rules to deliver that outcome, which would be a very challenging time for our planning officers and the councillors of the day were that to happen. So it's a big planning issue that we're all grappling with the government having asked us to send us our ideas by Christmas. But we've got a very good performing planning department, as evidenced in this report, that no doubt will rise to the challenge of the rapidly growing population and housing affordability challenges that broader Melbourne is currently battling.
Thank you, Councillor Stephen Mayne. Do I have any other speakers to the motion? Councillor Goff, would you like to close?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And in closing there, I think there is, I suppose, an issue for the concept of planning and local government's involvement in planning, which has been put under question. And I think it's very important that we have actually espoused this. There is only one question that I actually ask here is I've got 6 liquor licences and unless something has changed in the last couple of years...
Point of order.
Councils don't actually put liquor licences, but in the report.
Sorry, Councillor Stephen Mayne, what's your...
My point of order is that under the strict reading of our meeting procedures as that currently apply, they very specifically say that you're not allowed to introduce new information.
Thank you.
And there was no discussion about liquor licences during the debate. So I'd ask you to make a ruling that Councillor Goff has breached our meeting procedures by introducing new information, and this is a dastardly crime and should never be allowed.
Thank you, Councillor Stephen Mayne. I agree with your point of order. Therefore, I would ask you not to raise any new information in your closing statement, please, Councillor Goff.
Thank you.
Have you finished closing?
I've finished closing ages ago.
Thank you. If that's no other speakers and our mover has closed, I will put that to a vote. All those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 11, Connected Communities. 11.1, Acarina Outdoor Redevelopment Project Update. Do I have a mover?
So moved, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Stephen Mayne. Do I have a seconder?
I second the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Laura Mayne. Councillor Stephen Mayne, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mayor. So this is a very important report, updating the council on the proposed broad outline of the very important and significant redevelopment of the outdoor area at Acarina. A magnificent facility that gets almost 1 million visitors a year and is open from 5:30 in the morning till 10 at night. So it's the jewel in the crown in terms of a council-owned recreation assets, and we're planning a $20 million plus major upgrade to the outdoor area, and this report updates on the latest design ideas. So probably the notable changes from when this last came to council in August last year is an expansion of the cafe area, an expansion of the family zone play area, possibly not proceeding with the quiet pool on the southern boundary. And it's in the report as a option being a quiet pool or a landscape option, and a landscape option means taking out the existing pool and removing that pool. We are, as previously indicated, we will be removing the diving pool, and the design also shows that the smallest of the toddler pools in the current indoor facility would also come out to expand the reach of the proposed cafe indoors, but the offset to that is obviously the expanded U-Butte family zone outdoor play area. So I'm really a strong supporter of this. There's further processes around community input and design. So the next council, early next year, will get to sign off on the final design. So this is this, anyone who's elected in November will have a hand in the air next February, and so this is not the final decision on the design. This is an update on our latest plans, and then the timeline spelt out in the report is that we would then go to tender after signing off in early 2025 on the final design, and then construction would start in late 2025 and run for approximately 15 months. So this is where we're at in the process. Key advisors on the design have been appointed, and this is the fruits of their work. The officers have done a great job, in my view, getting to this point. This will be the most important capital works project of the next council. The outdoor pool hasn't been redone since it opened almost 55 years ago. So some of this investment, such as replacing the outdoor pool shell, is long overdue. Others are going to add to Aqua Arena's existing status of being one of the best aquatic facilities in Melbourne, arguably the best in terms of attracting school carnivals. And speaking of school carnivals, we are putting in new seating, which will make it even more attractive for the schools of Melbourne to come from far and wide to enjoy the wonderful facility we have at Aqua Arena. So we're investing in our jewel. It's a great plan, and well done to all involved who've got it to this point.
Thank you, Councillor Stephen Mayne. Councillor Laura May, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'm excited to be seconding this report. Our Aqua Arena facility is one of our council jewels, as Councillor Mayne said, and this redevelopment project is going to provide some much needed updates to a much loved and our only public pool. So this report builds on the master plan that was endorsed in August last year and focuses on the key community priorities that were identified throughout the consultation process. So I definitely think this report benefits from the visuals that are provided in the agenda. So if the community is interested, I really do urge that you have a look at that and flick through. But I'm going to try to best describe my favourite part, which is the cafe and water play area. So for those who are familiar with the facility, you will know that the current cafe is quite tucked away, and the current water space is quite separate. So in the future plans, we're going to create a much larger and more open cafe that will move more towards the centre of the facility and closer to the indoor pools. So the plan is this cafe will spill out to both outdoor and indoor, which is something new and exciting, giving parents the ability to supervise their children from all corners of the facility, which is just so important, and also from the comfort from a brand new cafe, which will be lovely. And the water space will be new and improved and much larger, is also directly on the interface of the cafe, so you can again supervise from the comfort of the cafe. And something else really exciting about this redevelopment is that it's the electrification of the outdoor pool, another initiative that will help council reach our net zero emission targets. So as someone who has definitely grown up using this pool, I can't wait to see these redevelopments pan out so future generations can enjoy this facility as much as I did growing up. So I'd like to thank the officers for all their hard work on this project so far.
Thank you, Councillor Laura Mayne. Do I have any speakers against the motion? Do I have any other speakers for the motion? With no other speakers, did Mover like to close? With no other speakers, I'll put that to a vote. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 12, City Services. There are no City Services reports this month. Item 13, Experience and Capability. There are no Experience and Capability reports this month. Item 14, Chief Executive Officer. 14.1, Review of Manningham's Governance Rules. Do I have a mover of the motion? Thank you, Councillor Michelle Kleinert. OM.
That the recommendation be adopted.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for the motion? Thank you, Councillor Goff. Councillor Michelle Kleinert, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So Section 60 of the Local Government Act requires that council is to develop, adopt and enforce governance rules, and hence they were used earlier on. It's with respect to a number of matters that include conducting of council meetings and its election period policy. So it's prudent to review the election period policy is it correct, or the EPP, prior to a general election, which is, of course, coming up this October, to ensure that contemporary practices are in place. So this has gone out to consultation. It was out for public. Council first endorsed the draft. It went out to consultation for a whole month. Normally, the requirement is 2 weeks, but we doubled that and it was extended. And so this is now coming back for us to finalise. Look, as always, every time a council does look at governance rules, there are little tweaks to improve. When you look at some things, you always are looking at how you can run your council meetings efficiently, transparently, and with good governance. And I'd like to think that here at Manningham, we've got exemplary governance, and certainly I thank the officers for the extensive work that they've done. There is a slight change also in the recommendation that we're moving the council meeting, which was scheduled for the 17th of September. It's been moved 1 day prior, and that's purely because state government changed the caretaker and moved the caretaker period forward, because many other councils are now moving into single wards, Manningham having already done that last election. But still to comply, it just means that we have our final council meeting on the 16th of September prior to caretaker mode. So it's pretty simple. It has gone through an extensive process. This is the final tick, so I trust that it will be approved. And I'm going to sneeze.
Thank you, Councillor Michelle Kleinert. Councillor Jeff Goff, would you like to speak to the motion? And
Thank you very
bless
much. Look, just quickly, I agree with everything that Councillor Kleinert actually talked about here with the responsibility to council to update all of these. It really is good that I suppose that we have done this, and it is at the end of our term. But probably what these policies reflect is a lot of our learned experience of things that worked and things that we might have needed to adjust. And of course, it'll take us through to the next council. And the next council at some stage, maybe after a little while, will review these and see if it's suitable for them and work with that at that particular time. So thanks very much for everybody that's been involved in drafting policies and to go through them, and how pedantic people can be, like myself and other people that could have had a lot of points of order moved against them on their speaking in a motion just before. But it is important. It is important that we do have them to curtail those activities, because in the end we are here. I know there can be humour and stuff, but we are here to actually get things processed properly and orderly and understandably, and that's why these rules are around.
Thank you, Councillor Jeff Goff. Do I have any speakers against the motion? Do I have any speakers for the motion? With no other speakers? Yes, thank you. Councillor Stephen Mayne.
Yes, just to add to the previous two speakers, there are a few important tweaks. As you might have worked out, I did run an argument that you should be allowed to introduce new information in a closing debate, and there wasn't support for that. So I guess I just demonstrated the relative straitjacket that provision does put on councillors being able to speak their minds in a council meeting. So some of the other important tweaks, which will come into effect from, I think it's immediate, isn't it? It's tomorrow. Yeah, so no one will be able to move a motion on their own anymore, or put a motion on the agenda, a council motion on the agenda. You will now need 2 councillors to do that. Having done 70 solo motions over almost 12 years, I'm sad to see that go, but recognise the good governance of a motion has to have a seconder for it to be debated, so there is a logic in having 2 councillors to get it on the agenda. I lost the argument about that councillors should be able to spend money by motion. At the moment we're not, and we still are not, so you can't even spend $5,000 without calling for an officer report that then comes back later on. So that is quite an ongoing straitjacket on the power of councillor motions. And I'll put on the record, I was also hoping to get the officers speaking rights at council meetings, both at the end of the meeting, but most importantly in introducing an important item. Does happen at many other councils, so there wasn't support for that, so we still have these meeting procedures which don't have a provision for the officers to participate, except for answering questions, which is an important way they can participate. And also, I think importantly, we have heard, not definitely for the last time, but possibly for the last time, the opening prayer. So we're changing that, we're contemporising that, and saying that it is up to the future mayor's discretion, but at the minimum it will include the acknowledgement of country and the statement of diverse backgrounds and cultures. So that's the minimum that the rules require of the mayor, and then the mayor of the day has the discretion to do an opening prayer or not, or other elements if they wish. So that is an important change. We haven't banned any religious or historical prayer elements to the opening of our meeting, but we've introduced discretion, which I think is a good, sensible way to recognise diversity in the community, but also give a nod to history and tradition in Manningham. And also, finally, I think it's good that we've I don't like saying this as a former newspaper journalist, but we've removed the requirement
And
to advertise in newspapers.
that's time.
And that's it. Thank you. Thank
you. Do I have any other speakers to the motion? If there are no other speakers, did the mover wish to close? No. If there's no other speakers and the mover doesn't wish to close, I'll put that to a vote. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 14.2, appointment of authorised officers, Planning and Environment Act 1987. Do I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Anna Chen.
I move that the recommendation be adopted.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Andrew Connellan. Councillor Anna Chen, did you want to speak to the motion?
No, thank you.
Councillor Andrew Connellan, did you want to speak to the motion? As there are no speakers to the motion, I will put that to a vote. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. Item 14.3, informal meetings of councillors. Do I have a mover?
I move that the recommendation be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Laura Main. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Thomas Lightbody. And Councillor Laura Main, would you like to speak to the motion?
No, thank you.
Councillor Thomas Lightbody, do you want to speak to the motion? Since there's no speakers, I'll put that to a vote. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. Item 14.4, documents for sealing. Do I have a mover? Councillor Michelle Klein at OAM.
That the recommendation be adopted.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Andrew Connellan. Councillor Michelle Klein, would you like to speak to the motion?
No, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Andrew Connellan, would you like to speak? Since there are no speakers, I'll put that to a vote. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. Item 15, omission of urgent business. There are no items of urgent business this evening. Item 16, councillor reports and question time. Councillors, I will begin with a report this evening. Councillors, it is with sadness that I inform yourselves and the community about the passing of Patrick Joseph Cooper. Pat Cooper, as we know, was the current president of the Beverly Hills Football Club. I would like to convey my deepest condolences to the family and friends of Pat Cooper following his recent and sudden passing. Pat was a long-serving member at the Bulling Hills Junior Football Club as president and coach, as well as a recognised Auskick award winner. He was a highly valued member of the wider community, and his contributions have no doubtedly left a lasting impact. At his funeral, councillors, many of his colleagues spoke very highly of his impact to the junior football club and the members, raising awareness and strength and capability within the junior football club. Pat's life was celebrated at an event held yesterday at Potter's Cottage, in which Councillor Chen and I attended. Whilst Pat's life and achievements were celebrated, it was also an opportunity to open the dialogue and discuss mental health, in particular with men, and the importance of asking for help. There is no shame in experiencing mental illness. 2 in 5 people experience mental health condition at some point in their life. Someone recently said, "We have diseases that eat our body, and we have diseases that eat our souls. Both warrant the same attention without being judged and ashamed." So I encourage those who may be experiencing a physical or a mental disease that they would get in contact with their local GP or contact Beyond Blue. Thank you, councillors. Councillors, do I have any other reports? Councillor Anna Chen.
It is with heavy heart and great sadness that I also report the passing of the president of Beverly Hills Junior Football Club, Patrick Joseph Cooper. Pat held numerous roles at the club, and his accomplishments were many, including Auskick Coordinator of the Year by AFL Victoria in 2018 for Central Melbourne region, and coach of Under-11s Premiership team in 2017. Pat stayed involved with the club even after his children ceased at Auskick, was a testament to his character and passion for the game and the club. Pat worked tirelessly recruiting and developing players through the club's school alliances to Auskick. I met Pat regularly at both Rastrix and Zerbis Reserve. My impression of Pat was kind, genuine, and selfless, very passionate about kids football, and a strong advocate for sports facilities improvement at Zerbis Reserve. A celebration of life for Pat was held yesterday, and a room was packed with friends, Beverly Hills Junior Football Club committee, players, parents, to pay tribute to Pat. Pat was very respected and now rests in peace. He will be sadly missed and not forgotten. My sincere condolence to Pat's family, and I believe that the club will stay strong without Pat. I just want to repeat one paragraph in a letter from heaven, which said, "When tomorrow starts without me, don't think we are far apart. For every time you think of me, I'm right there in your heart." Thank you. Stay strong. Go Hills.
Thank you, Councillor Chen. Councillors, would we have any other reports or questions this evening? Councillor Michelle Kleinert.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just want to recognise Richard Hardford, another great man who recently, he's the former president of the Templestowe Cricket Club, and recently was awarded life membership. We reflect there's many people that make an incredible impact in our communities. And it was wonderful to be part of that celebration with Richard and just, Madam Mayor, with your words and Councillor Chen. You know, we're reminded there's a lot of great people in our community, and we are very lucky. We have a community of over 20% volunteerism in our community, over 20%. That was prior to COVID. These are people that go above and beyond. And so we reflect and we think and we thank those that work really hard for many young locals in sport, in communities, from all sorts, even scouts, that maybe we don't call that so much as a sporting thing, but it's just a time to reflect. And so it's with great joy that I recognise Richard and his work, but it's also a reminder that these people become family to their communities, and it's a powerful thing, and it's something that we as Manningham Council, that's one of the greatest things as a councillor. We get connected to so many communities of people doing everyday great things, and for those, sometimes they feel unthanked, they don't feel seen, maybe not heard, because they volunteer and they give so much to others and get or feel empty. But it's just wonderful that we can be part of celebrating life, and in this with Richard, life membership, something to be very proud. So thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Kleinert. Councillors, do I have any other reports or raise a question? Councillor Andrew Conlon.
Yeah, just have a number of questions, actually. Teresa.
2 questions. Thank you, Councillor Conlon.
Oh, 2 questions. Okay, 2 questions and a comment then. It's actually following up on a previous question, I think. This is to do with road safety in the area, particularly along Reynolds Road. So if you can visualise Mullum Creek all the way up to Tyndall's Road, that stretch of road. It's 70 down one end, it's 60 at the other at Tyndall's Road, and in between it's 80. And while it's probably logical to be downhill 80 for the part of that, there's a lot of side streets that people are having trouble getting out of when there's traffic coming along at 80k, particularly as you get closer to Tyndall's Road, near Benaro Court and Limassol, I think. It's quite hairy for those people getting out of there. So it'd be great if we can send a request off to Vic Roads to see if we can review that speed limit. And in terms of another thing that's happened along that stretch of road recently, a car went into a power pole, damaged the power pole. AusNet came out immediately, fixed the power pole. Unfortunately, they had to take it out and put a new one in. Residents were without power for a day, which you sort of get used to in that area. But having been living there myself in that area, but unfortunately they forgot to take away the pole, so it's just sitting there on the side of the road, and it's not a safe pole. It's got steel reinforcement sticking out of it, and it'd be great if we could follow up AusNet in terms of getting that moved as soon as possible. A resident actually ran out, council, and they council said ring up your local councillor to get them to follow it up. So here I am asking the question: why can't we advocate and get that pole moved?
Thank you for those questions, Councillor Conlon. Do I have any other councillors with reports or questions? Thank you, Councillor Laura Main.
Thank you, Mayor. I have 2 reports. So first of all, we are very excited that the works for the Youth Hub are underway and expected to complete it in early August. And My Hub will be opening its doors on Thursday, the 8th of August, as a dedicated space for young people aged 10 to 25 in Manningham to find support, resources and referrals from Manningham's Youth Services team. So the goal is to create a very welcoming space where young people can access the support they need and engage with their community. Some of the services we'll be offering include free mentoring support, guidance and advice for young people, leadership and community engagement opportunities, youth programs for schools and local community groups, and support for community services providers and businesses. So I'm very excited about this initiative, and please get down to the opening coming up in August. And use this facility if it sounds like something you need. And secondly, we also have an event coming up, I just wanted to spruik. So we have our tree planting day this Sunday, the 28th of July. It's 9 to 11 a.m. at Rockford Lake Park, and then it's 11 to 1 at Mullum Trail. You will be provided with tools you need and a free barbecue lunch. So please get down if you're available. Hopefully it's a sunny day. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Laura Main. Councillors, do I have any other reports or raise a question? Thank you, Councillor Stephen Main.
Mayor, I'd like to congratulate Karen Patterson on her debut time as the acting CEO at City of Manningham and ask if there's anything she would like to update us on. Probably relevantly, there's been this worldwide cyber incident. How did we go sort of dealing with that, and is everything sort of back online and operational after that major event on Friday?
Thank you, Councillor Stephen Mayne, for your question, and I'm pleased to report that yes, we are up and operational. We were impacted by the outage, but we were able to offer all of our usual out-of-hours services across the weekend and fully operational as of Monday morning.
Thank you, Councillor Stephen Mayne, and thank you, Acting CEO Karen Patterson. Councillors, do I have any other reports or questions? No. That is it. Okay. Then that is the end of councillor reports and question time. Item 17, confidential reports. There are no confidential reports this evening. Therefore, I declare tonight's meeting closed at 7:46 p.m. Thank you.